Good morning and welcome to Heartland Leatherworks. This morning we're going to be doing a real quick video, and it's going to be an introduction to molding leather, wet forming leather. Good morning and welcome to Heartland Leatherworks. This morning we're going to be doing an introductory video, and it's going to be how to mold leather. This is going to be wet forming is another term that they use, but we're going to be building basically a catch-all that when you get home from work, you got a place you can throw your keys to keep from scratching up your entryway or anything like that. So what we're going to be using today tool-wise, we're going to start out with this mat. It's going to be a cutting mat because we're going to need a piece of leather. We need a piece of leather that's 5 inches by 10 inches. And we're going to be using just the standard razor blade. If you remember from our initial top 10 tools to get into the leather craft on a budget, that's going to be one of the tools. Now we are going to be introducing you to a couple other tools that we haven't even talked about in the past due to doing molding and wet forming. So one of the things is this, it's a dense foam, and this is, you can get this at knifekits.com. There's a couple other places, but basically this is foam that they use when if you've seen or you're familiar with Kydex holsters, this is the foam that they use in the presses. And then also, we actually have a press, and I don't expect everybody out there to actually own a press or have a press because it's kind of a specialty tool. But we are going to show you another way to where you could actually wet form this using these two boards and a couple of clamps. These boards, there's nothing fancy about this. It's 3/4 inch plywood, and it's just cut on roughly a 12 by 12 square that you could use to press the mold. And when we get to that, you'll see where we're at, and I'll show you on the video. So those are going to be all the tools that we're going to need for this video for the wet forming, and I think that's it. This ruler, in case you're curious guys, is a 24 inch self-centering ruler. And what I mean by that is there's actually a mark in the center of this ruler that will measure out in both directions. So if you're trying to find the center of a leather belt or something like that, so you get a true center cut, and I'll zoom in on this so you can see this, but here's your 0, 1 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, but you can find the true center. So with this being a 5 inch piece, we can clearly look on it. 2.5 on both sides, that confirms our 5 inches, that's dead center if we wanted to punch a hole. Now we're not doing that in this project, but that's just giving you an example of what we can do. Now we just cut that on the straight line, and all I'm doing here is I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that this is squared up as well. So using this mat with these lines and the measurements on it makes your job go by a lot quicker, because if you're trying to look on the leather and then mark the leather, you'll actually end up, it takes you much longer. You can lay it out, make sure everything's squared up, and you can get your cuts done much faster this way. So what we're going to do here, we need that piece to be 10 inches, so measure over here to 10. That's the 10 inch mark over here. You can confirm that by starting off with 0, or in this case I started off with 1 because I'm trying to square up that side so that it actually shows 11 over here. So we're 5 inches by 10 inches. We'll make this cut real quick, and then we're going to go inside and we're going to do the edges, stain this puppy up, and then we're going to do the wet forming. So let's go do that. Alright guys, what we're going to do is we're going to round off these corners real quick, and I'm just using a craft tool. It's part number 3780-01. If you guys want to get one of these, you don't have to. You could actually cut that corner with just using a, I don't know, something about the right size that you want the corner to be. And then use your box knife to round it off as well, which is cheaper. This is just quicker. Next step is going to be using our edger. We're going to go around this and kind of prepping it for rounding it over and burnishing the edge when we're done. We'll go ahead and keep on going. This is a pretty quick process. If you guys will notice, this little cutting board I have has some texture to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that thing before I flip this over. I don't want to scratch the good side of our leather. So now we're going to do the inside, or the bottom, whatever you want to call it. Just come over here. And again, this edger tool is really quick. All we're doing is just taking that squared off side off. And we're done with that part. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move this and get ready to stain. I'm sure you guys remember, but we used the Fibbings Pro dye. It's what we've always had really good luck with. It's good consistent color. But we'll get our rubber gloves on so we're not killing ourselves, and just go ahead and start staining this leather up. Next thing we want to do is the edges. So we'll go in here and do the edges. And then while we've got this turned over, let's go ahead and put some stain on this back. We're not trying to cover it like we will the other side, because this is going to be bottom down, but it makes it blend in just a little bit better. So I like to get a little bit darker on the edges, because that's what people are going to see more so than the actual bottom. And then let's flip it back over, and wow, it looks good. It's about ready for our stamps. Let's go ahead and stamp it real quick. And then look at that stamp. And then I've just got this set up. It's on in front of a little fan, but this is the piece that we actually did last night, preparation for the video. So you can see it's already stained up and it's dry to the touch and it's ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get the wet forming process going on this one. Just want to get this soaking wet. We're going to wet the front and the back side. Again, it doesn't really matter. I've seen other people suggest that you let it soak for 30 minutes, this or that or whatever. This is the way we do everything that we wet mold. We get it good and wet, and then we just sponge off the excess water so it's not getting all over our stuff in our press or our wood molds. But that is it. Alright guys, so what we're doing here is we're just going to lay this the pretty side down on top of this. And this is a 1x4 that I've gone in and I've just rounded off the edge on it. Nothing fancy, just a regular 1x4. Cut it, I want to say 9 inches maybe, but it's just enough that this leather will actually mold on. We'll flip it over. The easiest way to do this, just kind of center it up, eyeball it, make sure that it's right. You could go in there and measure it if you're that worried about it, but I don't think it's going to matter. We'll get our mats. Again, these are just regular standard foam mats like you would see if you was doing Kydex forming. We're going to set it on there nice and easy so we make sure we don't move that leather, and then put it over here in the press. Okay, Once it's in the press, we'll go ahead and smash it down. And again, if you don't have a press, and I don't expect everybody that's watching this to even have a press, you can actually keep working that leather with your hands and smashing it all the way around. And then if you guys are interested and want information about this press and the mods that we did to make it work, I can do a video specifically like that if we get enough people saying they would like some more information on it. But this is actually the press that we use when we're doing kydex or anything else. And pressing it down is just kind of you kind of get the feel for it. This is a 12-ton jack that's actually using the press to press it down. So we just kind of smash it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to set a timer for 30 minutes. Hey Siri, set a timer for 30 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes and counting.
So we will let that stay in the press for 30 minutes and then we'll come back and show you. Basically it's going to be done forming, but I will show you how you could do that by hand as well. So give me a minute and we'll magic a video by the time. Yeah, boom, here we go. And yes, this is what we do during that 30-minute time frame when we're waiting. And now you know what we do while we're waiting on the timer. The timer's going off now, so we're going to get ready and go ahead and take that out. And as you can see, Buster's not done playing. So we'll send him down the hall and get this out. And here it is coming out of the press. As you can see, there'd be a couple little spots that we can actually smooth back out with our fingers. And this leather is still wet, so it's pliable. If you want to look, we're pretty well centered from here to here and centered across there. Got our logo here. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry overnight, and then we will finish up by burnishing the edges and do the final sealer on it. So we'll be back tomorrow morning, guys. Alright guys, so we're down to the last little bit. We've taken this out of the form. We've set it on top of right in front of the little fan or whatever, and it's been out drying for another full day. So it's actually really stiff, and it's set up now, and it's actually truly wet formed. And as you can see, it's just ready for the final little bit. And what we're going to do is we use this leather conditioner as the last, pretty much the last step. So we'll go ahead and just kind of treat it. And look at how those colors just really start to pop after you get this last bit of leather treatment done. Just put it on, and then I've got another little rag over here that will wipe off all the excess. And that's pretty much complete. The only thing that we have not done is burnish the edges, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing this video as an introductory video where we're just going to do the actual general wet forming or wet molding, whatever you want to call it. There's several different words, but it all means the same thing. But I'm going to actually, this next week, we're going to post a video on burnishing the edges, and we're going to go over a couple of different ways to do that. And to keep this video short and keep it on track of what we're working with. We're just going to do this video, leave it as pretty much done. This is going to be the end of the wet forming, wet molding process, and look forward to next week where we will actually go over the burnishing of the edges, and we'll do that on another piece of leather because we're going to introduce you to a few more tools and go that direction. So okay, so again guys, we're gonna wrap up the video here. What we've done is we've actually taken just a regular 5" by 10" piece of leather and we've wet formed it. I've basically shown you how you can do this in a press. If you don't have a press, where the press was in the video, you could actually use this same model right here with the form. Put your leather on there, put your form down on your wood, and then your foam would be on top, because your foam's going to smash that down around the wooden form that we made. So that is how you could actually use this with the clamps. Like I say, it'd be real easy. You just set it in there, get your clamp set up. And a lot of guys, actually, when they first get into Kydex and forming stuff with the Kydex, the plastic, this is essentially what they use, because not everybody's got a press. And like I say, if we weren't using a press a lot, we wouldn't have one, but we actually use it quite a bit for some of the stuff that we do make regularly. So this just gives you a good example of how you can press this down using just some regular cheap clamps, a couple pieces of 12 by 12 scrap 3/4 inch plywood that you probably got laying around the house anyways. And then like I say, the only thing you'd have to buy is this foam. They're really cheap. I don't know, $6 or $7 for the piece of foam. And the foam will last forever. Working it all the time, the foam will last forever. So that's essentially how that goes together and how you could use just kind of a manual press, if you will. You could get creative with this, guys. You could figure out a way to clamp it to your workbench or your workspace, whatever workspace you have, and maybe just get by with one piece of wood and use the table that you're already using as the base. But that's just one other quick option as opposed to buying a press. And then the other option would be, if you don't have the press and you don't have the plywood, you can actually do all this by hand. You can take your little 1x4 that you've rounded the edges off to make you a nice form, if you will. Get your leather wet, center it up, just like you would if you was putting it in the press. You can kind of feel that's going to be centered up right there. But with the leather wet, you could actually work this with your fingers and maybe even hold it down for a little bit. But you can just kind of press it down, get a good grip on it, and just hold it for a while, and it will eventually mold up the same. I mean, the only difference between doing this right here and using your press is pretty much nothing. And then as you've seen, when I pulled it out of the press, I still use my thumb to kind of straighten up the edges and get them straight. That way you don't have the little wavy wrinkle spots. But that's exactly how you could do it by hand without any of the extra tools. You could use the tools that you already have. So that would take it down to bare minimum tool. Razor blade, your mat, your cutting mat, piece of leather, and then a 1x4 that you probably, if you don't have one of them laying around the house, you could probably find one in a dumpster. All the time people are throwing pallets away. I mean, 1x4 is a pretty common piece of wood. So, and it's only, like I say, how long is this thing? It's actually, less than 10 inches. And again, guys, if you found any value at all in this video in learning how to mold leather by hand or using a press or even making your own kind of press out of the clamp process, we'd appreciate likes, comments, and shares. And again, if you'll subscribe to the channel, it would greatly be appreciated. One of the ways that we can actually help others and share more with others is by comments and subscribes, because the more our channel grows, the more that YouTube will help put our videos out there in front of other people. And our whole goal is to try to help others learn how to do the leather process. And again, we're going to get into some business tips and projects, but this right here is a pretty neat little catch-all that you could use. And if you're trying to get a little leather business going, this could be something that you could potentially make a little bit of money with and sell them to your friends or family or whatever, and maybe buy yourself some more leather tools, something like that. So again, guys, we appreciate your likes, comments, and subscribes, and I hope you found some value in this video, and may you have a blessed week. Oh, before I forget, I'm sure you remember there's one thing that we didn't really do, and that we didn't really do any kind of edge dressing on this. Next week, we are going to be doing a video on burnishing leather, and that was actually brought up by another viewer who's asked specifically why we were doing something in one of our other videos, and I thought, you know what, we could just make a video about burnishing edges. So look forward to, again, subscribe so that you don't miss out on next week's video. But we're going to be going over the tools that you want to use, and we'll do a little more in-depth video on nothing but burnishing leather. So again, guys, have a blessed week.